So I want to talk about why Coturnix quail, I think, could be a mistake if you're trying to live more independent, to have some sort of marginal off-grid food source. Now, I got into Coturnix quail a couple years ago because I was thinking of getting birds to lay eggs. And at the time, USDA was going around killing chicken flocks. That was mostly at commercial facilities, but I didn't know how aggressive they were going to get. And, if someone nearby that had a bird flu in their flock, would they go around and kill all the birds within a mile or something? I don't know. It's dumb, right? Because I don't even know why they're killing chicken flocks. It's the migratory birds that have the disease. They're the ones spreading it, but whatever. I didn't want to have a hostile encounter with the USDA because I would treat my birds like they're my family. And yeah, as much as I respect people who maybe, there's a hill they're willing to die on as far as defying government authority, and people do. And I respect the fact people got, this far and no further, and now they crossed the line and, okay, you're doing what you got to do. But the effect of that usually is you end up being a propaganda piece for the state. They realize that you're unhinged. And look here, the USDA is trying to protect us from the bird flu, and here you are, doing something directly resisting their authority, and they had to put you down. Most people are brainwashed, and most people would just cheer on your demise. You would just be a propaganda piece for the state if you stood against the state that way. So I said, okay, how can I get around the USDA potentially doing this? And I said, well, I can just get quail, because quail you have to keep in cages. Coturnix quail are not native around here. They will die if they're let loose in the wild. I mean, they might live for a few days until something picks them off, but they cannot survive here. And a lot of their survival instincts have been bred out of some of them. If you look into your hutch, you'll see that, maybe they might have the instinct to lay the eggs in one corner of the hutch, but they don't sit on them. Now, supposedly, if you can create a private space, someone might sit on them. But even if they can sit on the clutch, our climate here is not suited to Coturnix quail babies, because newly hatched babies need to be 98.6 degrees. And then over the course of a few weeks, you slowly lower the temperature to toughen them up. But if they hatched here when it was 80 degrees outside, then they would die. They cannot retain their heat. Where Japan, where these birds come from, they have much higher temperatures and they can do better. And the parents have the maternal instinct to, nestle them and surround them with their wings and whatever the fuck they do, right? So, it's work here. You're in hutches and you have to feed them every day. You got to water them every day. Yeah, you can put water drips and whatever, tall feeders that solely dispense food and stuff, but you have to scoop their poop from the poop trays underneath the hutches, and you got to change out their straw if they have nest straw to nest in and all that, and it's just it's a lot of work. And I got them so I could have eggs for my the cats and the dog, so that if they need animal protein they can have it. But compared to chickens in the spring, summer, fall can roam around the land if you have land, and they can peck at bugs and they can peck at vegetation they like to eat, and they can just do that, and that supplements the food, and they don't have to eat a lot of commercial bird food. Whereas I am actually all the more dependent on the industrial food system now, because I have to buy feed that I feed to the Coturnix quail. Now I can create light traps or something to try to attract bugs and zap them and feed them dead bugs, but really I'm dependent on the commercial feed unless I start growing feed for them. So the next step for me is which I've ordered and I'm waiting delivery, various grains that they can eat, and wild peas and wild bean pods they can eat, and I'm going to grow those and see how it goes. And I'm growing them first and foremost just to see if I can manage it. If I can manage it, I'm going to plant them next year and then share the seeds with other people, anticipating that the cost of bird feed is going to go up. So, unless you're willing to do a lot of work, especially if you're thinking about doing homesteading stuff, just remember that, you may not be buying, they give you the eggs, but you're buying the feed from the commercial feed system, unless you're providing them with the grains and the bugs and the source of calcium that they can eat. In my case, I have to go travel somewhere and get shells like mussel shells or something and then grind them up, or clam shells or something. Unless you can do it for yourself, you're still dependent on it. You're not really develop much resilience. Yeah, sure, you can stockpile grain in a cool, dry place, and if life turns crappy, you have some time. You have a buffer of food you can feed them while you figure out what to feed them. But in the end, you're probably, unless you're growing food for them, you're probably going to have to kill and eat them. And then they're not laying eggs for you anymore. So, in my opinion, I think chickens and ducks and other fowl are better for homesteading, for more off-grid oriented stuff than Coturnix quail. Now, if you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. I love my birds, so I'm not going to just kill them because they're inconvenient. You know, I try to give them the best life I can. And I know they don't love me. I'm just the food bringer. But whatever. That's all I got to say. Thanks for watching.